I don't think that there's anyone like Wonder Woman.
Wonder Woman, Wonder Woman.
All the world's waiting for you.
I had something of a reputation as a master of camp in Hollywood. I had, when I was still a kid at ABC in the program department, come up with the idea of putting a comic strip on television. I was having lunch one day with Jerry Leider, who ran Warner Brothers Television, and he said, "You know, I've always loved Wonder Woman." And I said, "Jerry, so have I. What can we do about her?" And he said, "Well, we'd like to develop the show with you and the right people involved and get it on the air. ABC is interested. Are you interested?" I leapt at it.
Most superhero characters are male, and this was even more true when Wonder Woman got started in 1941, which just shortly after Superman and Batman had been introduced.
After Superman first came out, there was a plethora of heroes. That's when Charles Moulton came up with Wonder Woman.
Wonder Woman was created by a man named William Moulton Marston. He was best known as a psychologist for his contributions to inventing the lie detector. He got a job working for a magazine where he had a column every month. This led him to be involved with a company called All American Comics, which is now DC Comics. He proposed a female superhero, which had never been done before. And in doing it, he put in a lot of his ideas from other areas. He was interested in ancient culture, and he used Greek and also Roman mythology sort of mixed together. He based his character on the myth of the Amazon. According to him, they were all living on a magical island somewhere far away. And Wonder Woman was an Amazon who was sent to aid America during World War II.
Here's a character where they have a chance to do it in sort of our modern day, but they decided, let's gonna make it very true to the roots of the comic book, where this is a story that took this character from essentially a fantasy land lost to time and pulled that character into our real world when we were in a time of turmoil, which of course is, you know, the time of World War II when Wonder Woman first appeared in 1941.
Moulton brought in some of his psychological theories about dominance and submission. There's a great deal of people being tied up in the stories. Wonder Woman had a magic lasso which she could use to compel people to tell the truth, and this was obviously a reference to the lie detector that he'd invented years earlier.
Now tell me about Peter Knight.
I have nothing. He is working for us.
Everyone wanted the Wonder Woman, the ideal Wonder Woman, to have a certain resemblance, obviously, to the cartoon character. That we needed a large woman, a statuesque woman, a buxom woman, and an angelic face. And beyond all that, we needed someone that could play it, could act and sustain a television movie and a series, hopefully, that would run for a long time.
I had been going on a lot of interviews for any part that was out there, along with all of the 70s stars, from Kate Jackson and Jacqueline Smith and Lindsay Wagner. We all ended up on this Farrah Fawcett, all in the same couple of little itty-bitty parts that were out there for women at the time. There was this search on for Wonder Woman, and I had done a screen test for Lawrence Gordon, on another movie that was never made. Douglas Kramer saw that film. When I walked in, I didn't have to do those horrible cold readings. We were just going to go ahead and test you. Oh my God! You know, so that was pretty thrilling. And immediately went on a diet. And, you know, you're worrying about your waistline and your hips and everything else. And I went and bought everything I could buy on Wonder Woman that was out there and discussed it with some actor friends and how I wanted to pursue it, how I wanted to play it. And I did the screen test with Lyle Wagner. It seemed like it was years before I got the call, but it was probably only a couple of weeks, and I was cast.
The problem is when you're creating myth, everyone has their own vision of that myth. So to sit with a director, with myself as a producer, with Warner Brothers executives, and then the network executives, and come close to everyone's feeling about Wonder Woman was a very difficult task. Whoever we found seemed to have part of the whole equation. they looked good in clothes or they were a wonderful actress. But usually if they looked good in clothes, they couldn't act. Or if they were a wonderful actress, they approached the job like a lady truck driver.
And Douglas Kramer had to fight for me because they just thought I was too green and that I didn't have enough experience, and they were afraid of casting any female in a leading role, let alone one that didn't have any experience.
Her casting may have been the best casting in history for television or film at that point. She is truly the best embodiment of that character from the comics made flesh. There was nothing off about her. She was perfectly that face. The beauty and sensitivity and really the quality of her looking like a heroic figure as well as her looking like the all-American girl, all these things are brought to bear in the way she is.
I feel lucky that I was discovered by Douglas Kramer for Wonder Woman. It was really the first big thing that I ever did. As far as Hollywood was concerned, I was completely unknown. The universe sort of conspired to let me live my dream.
Our Diana is strictly business, but maybe, just maybe, one of these days she'll get tired of missing all the fun. And when that happens, I'd love to be around.
You will be, Major. That's a promise.
When it came to casting Linda's co-star, once she was set, there really was one overwhelming choice in Hollywood in those days, and it was Lyle Wagner. There was an essential quality to Lyle of gee whiz, and just as Linda had her essential naivete, he had his essential gee whiz that worked.
I think that it took a lot of moxie on Lyle Wagner's part to play this role. Tall, great looking. He had played second banana to Carol Burnett. He had been doing that and was fine with it, and was able to poke fun at himself.
Nothing to worry about, Wonder Woman. We handled this all on our own, for a change.
And I was so busy, to tell you the truth, playing two roles, I didn't have a lot of time to share with Lyle. If there's a regret that I do have, it's that I didn't know him better than I did.
Wonder Woman was that outfit to begin with, and it had to be perfect. I can't tell you how many times we looked at it, looked at fabrics, looked at different cuts, how they looked on Linda, how they moved and operated, but we were there every day getting it right.
Being Wonder Woman, she was dressed in this red, white, and blue costume. We're so familiar with it now, we almost don't see that that's what it is. It's the American flag, and that she was wrapped in the American flag literally to be a patriotic force during World War II, and this was part of the appeal of the character.
The only thing I was a little bit taken aback by, this is pre-Madonna, you have to understand, were the sort of bullet breasts, you know. Wonder Woman did it before Madonna did it, and that sort of threw me a little bit. And when Don Feld redid the costume after the first season, they weren't quite as pronounced. It felt like a second skin. I really didn't feel too self-conscious. Oddly, I mean, now that you mention it, I should have. But don't forget, this was the ban the bra time. This was sexual freedom time. This was bikinis and midriffs, and that was the timing. And I really wasn't thinking about being sexy either.
Here's this woman, a very gorgeous woman, running around half naked essentially, wearing pretty much a swimming outfit, and somehow she comes across as not being ultra-sexual. And in fact, she is this symbol to young women, or women of any age, as not being defiled by that exposure. Essentially, the character was taken as what the character's meant to be, as an object of energy and motion, not as of corrupted sexuality or something that is just, for the boys.
It was an image that I never worked for in terms of the character. She never thought she was all that. You'd be surprised at how many women ask me for their husbands or boyfriends, and they don't feel threatened by me, because that's not what I was about. The special effects on Wonder Woman were, I think, a real collaboration. Leonard Horn, who was the first director, was going to be establishing the bracelets, the changeover into Wonder Woman, and there were a lot of conversations about that, and many of them not with me. And when we got on the set one morning, they were going to lock off a camera and try to see what they could do with that. And I said to the director, well, you know, I could spin, I took a lot of dancing, and so I'll just do like a pirouette, with your arms out to the side. He said, show me, and I did it, and he said, that's it.
There were hours spent figuring out how to do the spin. When we finally worked out the stop camera action, the lab work that had to be done to make it all seamless, cameras that had to be tied down, the uniform outfit moving, the clothes going on and off. It was very expensive and very time-consuming. And while it worked wonderfully as a slow-motion striptease in its way, which was pretty daring in the 70s on television, it was so costly and so time-consuming that we weren't able to do it on the weekly basis. Someone came up with the cheaper concept, which may in the long run have been more effective with the flash of light and almost this heavenly being created before your eyes. Some of the special effects within the television movie would have been a snap to do today. Then there were endless hours spent and a lot of money spent creating and making real an invisible plane.
They had the stupidest music playing over that invisible plane. It was sort of like some jazz thing or something. I just never liked that plane. What I did think was cool was the tiara or headband as a boomerang. I sort of turned away and we cut, and then when I turned back, it was off, and I threw it. But I could never really get it to come back. I tried. I said, do they really work? And I don't think it was aerodynamically right or something. Had too much glitter on it, or maybe it was that star in the middle. I think the most ingenious little invention that the special effects guys came up with was the bracelets, because they really worked. And there were these little explosions that happened on the stars in the front that were connected by a wire that was in my palm. That's why my hands are always like this when I did it. As far as the stunts go, I tried to do as many as they would let me do. And I worked for the stunt people. I learned how to drive a stunt car, and I was an honorary member of Stunts Unlimited. Almost all the fights I did, because they could get close. When I did things, they could get close and you could see that it was me, as opposed to distant with the back of the head and all of that stunt people do.
Come on, you two. You want to hear about the exploits of Wonder Woman, don't you?
I certainly don't. Why not? You might grow up to be just like her someday. Who knows?
When I first read the show for Wonder Girl, to be honest with you, I think I was a little insecure. Oh my God, they want to have Wonder Girl too? Actors, what are you going to do? Anyway, there were a lot of screen tests done, and I did a lot of those screen tests with those girls. And Deborah was far and above the best one.
What do American women wear to these Hollywood parties? Steve told me to wear something slinky. Slinky. What's slinky?
It was always odd to know that, as I knew early on, that the woman who was appearing in all these other movies, who would become herself quite a famous actress, Deborah Winger, was Wonder Girl.
It was a lot of fun to play the older sister. I never had a younger sister myself, so it was kind of cool to have her in the cast.
Well, you were quite sure of yourself.
Absolutely. If there's one thing Ashley Norman knows about, it's a woman's mind and money.
We tried in the pilot of Wonder Woman to show the level of guest stars that we hope to have by making an outrageous deal with Cloris Leachman.
I named this island Paradise for an excellent reason. There are no men on it. Thus, it is free of their wars, their barbaric, masculine behavior.
She brought with her a cachet that when she did it, you had to watch her and pay attention to her, and you believed this madness.
In the first year, it was a very in thing to be guest starring on my show. Red Buttons being one of my favorites in the pilot. He played a Nazi / theatrical agent.
I could seldom walk in to a dinner party or a movie opening without having somebody come up and say, I really love Wonder Woman. Can you write me a heavy? We were very lucky with Charlie Fox, who composed the Wonder Woman theme and did the pilot for us.
All the world's waiting for you.
I thought nobody better than Charlie could capture the real wonderment of the show.
I think it had heroism in it. I think it was very much in keeping with the comic book. In her satin tights, fighting for our rights in the old red, white, and blue.
Graphics were a very important part of Wonder Woman.
Instead of having a kind of narration, they would put little captions like you'd see in a comic book saying later that day or at the airport or something like that, so that it sort of created the mood of a comic book.
Phil Norman, who did great movie titles and had worked for me with Charlie Fox on Love American Style. And Phil gave it a very distinctive, I think, very special look. Wonder Woman came along at a time in the 70s that was absolutely right. It was a time where the women's movement was hitting its stride, where feminism and that all that it was conveyed and was about was being listened to, was being studied, and was slowly, quietly exploding across the country.
It's all great to look at all this, you know, trailblazer, pioneer, all that stuff. But the reality is, I would have done it for free. You know, it was such a great opportunity for me. I was just going along, you know, riding the top of the wave and thrilled that anything else came from it. And I think it's really, since Wonder Woman went off the air, that the appreciation for what that was has grown and continues to grow to this day.
For Linda to come along and do what she did in her way as Wonder Woman was record-breaking. It was a mind blower for a lot of people.
I think it really started when we got the first 13 from ABC. It's when I started to get all that attention, and you know, beware of what you wish for, because it was like being in a wind tunnel. It was really hold on to your hat time.
I wonder how she always knows when we need her the most.
Well, it could be feminine intuition.
Definitely did not think I would become an icon. I mean, it's kind of bizarre, actually, to think that Wonder Woman could be an icon, yes, but that I could be an icon, no.
Out of the big cities, we would get letters from women, from young girls, saying, I never thought I could have a life like that. And I've thought about going into the service or writing to the FBI or thinking that there are all these jobs out there and all those things that I could do with my life that I never thought were possible. I mean, to me, that was one of the most exciting things about the show.
The only thing Wonder Woman didn't have, and maybe they'll answer this in a movie, is she didn't have love in her life. She didn't have children. I would hope that story would be told. And that's such a huge part of womanhood. And that's something we all have over Wonder Woman, is that.
Linda Carter has a near equal importance to the legend of Wonder Woman, a character that is 60 years old, as the creators. She personified it for the modern generation in a way that it'll never be forgotten. She embodied a superhero, unlike where there's multiple people that have played Superman and Batman over the years. There's really only one Wonder Woman to anybody's eyes.
I have to say Wonder Woman really shaped my life, and I really like her. I like Wonder Woman. I'd like to be Wonder Woman. You know, I got to play her, but I kind of like her as much as everybody else does, and I think she's an inspiration. And it was a blast.